Elena Martinez stepped into Nathan Brooks' office, her heart heavy with foreboding. Under the cold fluorescent lights, Vanessa from HR sat silently as Nathan declared, "Elena, your position has been eliminated. Leave by the end of the day." No explanation, no gratitude, despite her 15 years building the financial systems that transformed Horizon Enterprises from a startup into a logistics giant. The 48-year-old single mother, whose smile was reserved for her 20-year-old son Diego, had once saved the company from collapse, yet now she was discarded like scrap paper. She packed her family photo frame, the coffee mug Diego gave her, tears falling silently as younger colleagues averted their eyes. In her car, she whispered, "I'm sorry, Diego." But as she turned the ignition, Elena's gaze sharpened, her voice a low, cryptic murmur, "They think I'll stay quiet. They don't know what I've seen." Those words weren't just a promise to herself, they were a spark igniting, ready to burn down the secrets lurking in Horizon's shadows. Back at her small suburban Seattle apartment, Elena set her box of belongings on the kitchen table, the soft yellow glow of a lamp illuminating a photo of her and Diego, 5 years old, beaming on a beach. She traced the frame gently, her heart twisting. Diego was in his second year of college, dreaming of becoming an engineer, and every penny of Elena's salary went to his tuition. She'd sacrificed countless late nights, weekends fixing Horizon's payment systems, all to secure his future. Now, that future was threatened by a ruthless decision. She sat down, opened her personal laptop, hands trembling but eyes resolute. "If they want to play dirty," she muttered, "I'll show them how well I play." Elena logged into an external hard drive where she stored backups from years past. These files were legally retained, required for an old internal audit project she'd led. Meticulous by nature, she kept everything, spreadsheets, internal emails, every detail. Horizon's financial system was her brainchild, every line of code, every process bearing her mark. But weeks ago, she'd noticed something off, recurring payments to a company called Pacific Consulting, no clear contracts, no specific services. When she flagged it to Nathan, he'd smirked, "Don't dig, Elena. Focus on your job." His threatening tone sparked her suspicion, and now, that suspicion was a torch lighting her path. She opened a spreadsheet, scanning hundreds of transactions. Payments to Pacific Consulting began 2 years ago, small at first, then escalating, totaling $4.8 million. Frowning, she searched business registries. Pacific Consulting was listed under Clara Brooks, with an address tied to a rented mailbox in downtown Seattle. Clara Brooks, Elena's pulse quickened. A quick social media search confirmed it. Clara was Nathan Brooks' cousin. "Bastard," she whispered, fingers flying faster. The payments were cleverly disguised, tucked into legitimate shipping contracts with costs inflated by 10 to 15%. A perfect scheme, small enough to dodge audits, large enough to enrich those behind it. Digging deeper, she accessed the internal email archive she'd designed for security. A thread between Nathan and Rachel Kim, the new operations director, surfaced. Rachel, with her fake smile and naked ambition, had agreed to help Nathan cover the transactions in exchange for a promised promotion. One email from Rachel read, "Elena's asking too many questions. We need to act fast." Elena's blood surged to her face. Rachel, who'd once bought her coffee and called her sister, had betrayed her. She kept digging, and another name emerged, Ethan Caldwell, an external consultant hired to modernize the financial system. But Ethan's reports were vague, and one email revealed his true task: erase Elena's footprints in the system. She leaned back, breathing heavily. An entire network had been built to oust her, not because she was incompetent, but because she was too good, too close to the truth. As she moved to save the files and rest, an old, buried email from 10 years ago froze her. It was from Victor Lang, Horizon's former CFO, fired after a major financial scandal. Back then, at 38, Elena had uncovered Victor's embezzlement of $2 million through fake contracts. Instead of going public, she'd covered it up, working with the board to recover the funds and quietly fire Victor, saving the company from collapse. She'd thought she'd done the right thing, protecting hundreds of jobs. But now, This email revealed a horrifying truth: Victor was a silent advisor to Pacific Consulting. He wasn't just back to profit, he was out for revenge on Horizon, and on Elena. Her heart pounded. She cross-referenced documents, finding Victor's fingerprints in recent transactions, an offshore bank account, a coded email from him to Nathan instructing how to mask payments. This fraud wasn't just Nathan's brainchild, it was Victor's masterpiece, designed to destroy the company that had ousted him. And Elena, who'd once shielded his crimes, was now his target. If she exposed the truth, Victor could reveal her role in the old scandal, ruining her reputation, her career, and worse, Diego's view of his mother. She closed the laptop, sitting in darkness, hands covering her face. The image of Diego, with his innocent smile as he gave her a mug engraved with "Best Mom Ever," flashed in her mind. "What have I done?" she whispered, tears streaming. But then, her gaze shifted from fear to resolve. She recalled Nathan's cold dismissal, Rachel's averted eyes as she left the office. They'd underestimated her, thinking she was just a disposable single mom. They didn't know her meticulousness, her loyalty, her pain, would become her weapons. Wiping her tears, she reopened the laptop and began taking notes. Victor might be a ghost from her past, but she wouldn't let him dictate her future. "If you want to play, Victor," she murmured, her voice low like the sea before a storm, "I'll show you what I've learned from my mistakes." The apartment was quiet, save for the ticking of the wall clock. Elena opened an anonymous email account, a tool she'd once designed to test Horizon's internal security, now repurposed as a weapon. She drafted a brief message to Rachel Kim, the ambitious operations director: "Check Pacific Consulting's accounts. Someone's watching." No signature, no trace, just enough to make Rachel panic. Elena gave a faint smile, picturing Rachel reading it in her sleek office, her fake smile crumbling. But Elena knew Rachel was just a pawn. Nathan, Victor, and Ethan were the real players. To take them down, she needed a plan not just clever, but devastating, like a silent wave sweeping everything away. She pulled out an old notebook, once used for financial workflows, and began sketching her strategy. First, she'd contact Linda Huang, a board member who'd praised her integrity during an audit years ago. Linda, with her sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor, was the only one who could expose the truth without Nathan's influence. Elena drafted a concise, polite email requesting a private meeting. "I have critical information about the company's finances. Only you can handle this." She kept it vague, knowing ambiguity would pique Linda's curiosity. But to convince her, Elena needed an ironclad report, spreadsheets, internal emails, and the evidence she'd gathered. She worked through the night, the laptop's glow illuminating her tired but resolute face, like an artist perfecting her final masterpiece. Mid-thought, a sharp knock at the door cut through the night like a blade. Elena flinched, her heart pounding. The clock read 10 p.m., too late for uninvited guests. She dimmed the laptop, crept to the door, and gripped her phone tightly. Peering through the peephole, she saw Victor Lang, his gaunt face and razor-sharp eyes chilling her. Her stomach sank, but she took a deep breath, opened the door, and kept her voice steady. "Victor. It's been a while." He smiled, a wolf scenting blood. "Elena, you've always been good at playing pretend," he said, stepping inside uninvited. "But don't act innocent. I know you're digging into Pacific Consulting." The room seemed to shrink, the air heavy. Victor stood near the kitchen table, his gaze flickering to Diego's photo. "The boy's grown," he said, his voice sweet but venomous. "What happens when he learns his perfect mom covered up an embezzlement to save Horizon? A hero, or a liar?" Elena's fists clenched, nails digging into her palms, but she hid her fear. "What do you want, Victor?" she asked, her voice sharp as steel. He tilted his head, smirking. "Silence. Stop digging, and I'll keep your secret. Otherwise, Diego won't just lose faith, he'll lose his future." He stepped closer, close enough for her to smell his expensive cologne. "You don't want me to play the villain, do you?" A tidal wave of emotions crashed over Elena. Fear choked her, the image of Diego calling her a liar vivid in her mind. But then she remembered him as a child, hugging her and saying, "Mom, you're my superhero." She couldn't let Victor win, couldn't let him steal her son's trust. She met his gaze, her voice low but fierce. "You're underestimating me, Victor." "Big mistake." He laughed, thinking her rattled, and left, leaving the apartment in eerie silence. But Victor didn't know Elena had secretly recorded the entire conversation, using an app on the phone tucked in her pocket. When the door closed, she sank into a chair, hands shaking, tears streaming. She wasn't crying from fear, but from realizing she'd gone too far to turn back. She opened the laptop, uploaded the recording to an encrypted drive, and sent it to Maria, her steadfast best friend, with a note, "Keep this. If anything happens to me, send it to a lawyer." Maria called immediately, voice frantic, "Elena, what are you doing? This is too dangerous." But Elena only smiled over the phone. "I don't have a choice, Maria. They pushed me into this fight." The next morning, Elena met Maria at a small cafe near Seattle's waterfront, where the scent of sea salt mingled with coffee. Maria, with her silver hair and piercing eyes, gripped Elena's hand. "You've sacrificed too much. Don't let them win." Her words fanned the fire in Elena's chest. She outlined her plan. After the email to Rachel, she'd send the detailed report to Linda before the quarterly board meeting, including Victor's recording. But she needed one final step, to protect Diego. She wrote a handwritten letter, left in Diego's room, explaining everything, the past scandal, why she covered it up, and her unconditional love for him. "If I fail, know I fought for you," she wrote, tears soaking the paper. When Diego returned from school, he found his mom in the kitchen, her gaze distant. He approached, hugging her from behind. "Mom, I know you're in trouble. But I trust you. Do what's right." His words were a balm to her pain. Elena smiled, squeezing his hand, feeling a new strength. She wasn't just fighting for justice, but for her son's faith, for the bridge she'd built with love and sacrifice. Back at the laptop, she finalized the report, a masterpiece of precision, from transaction spreadsheets to internal emails, woven into an undeniable narrative. She looked out the window, the sunset painting Seattle's waterfront red, and whispered, "They think I'm prey. But this time, I'm the hunter." Those words weren't just a vow, they were a flame ready to burn through every lie, guiding her to the final battle. Elena stood before the mirror in her small apartment, Seattle's dawnlight glinting through the window, casting a glow on her face, a mix of fear and resolve. Last night, she'd finalized her report, a financial masterpiece exposing the greed of Nathan Brooks, Rachel Kim, and Victor Lang, with Victor's threatening recording as the final bullet. She'd emailed Linda Huang, a board member, and set an automated email to blast the entire board at 8 a.m., just before Horizon Enterprises' quarterly financial meeting. But as she tied her hair, preparing for the fateful day, a shiver ran down her spine. If Victor kept his word, he'd reveal the scandal she'd buried 10 years ago, destroying her reputation and Diego's trust. She touched Diego's photo on the table, whispering, "I won't let you down, son." Then she stepped out, a warrior entering the arena, ready to face her past and her enemies. At Horizon's headquarters, the air was taut as a bowstring. Elena sat in a cafe across the street, laptop open, eyes sharp as she watched people stream in and out. She had no intention of appearing in person, too dangerous, especially with Victor lurking. Instead, she checked the automated email one last time, subject line: "The truth about Pacific Consulting, don't approve the budget," with the detailed report and recording attached. Her heart pounded as she hit schedule, the clock ticking to 7:59. When the second hand struck, the email launched, an arrow flying straight to the inboxes of 12 board members. Elena sipped her coffee, its bitterness mingling with adrenaline. "Now you'll see," she muttered, her eyes flashing like a flame on the sea. On the 20th floor, the boardroom buzzed with budget talks, unaware a bomb had just detonated in their inboxes. Linda Huang, with her silver hair and razor-sharp gaze, was the first to open the email. She frowned, scanning spreadsheets and internal emails, then froze at Victor's recording. "If you ruin my plan, I'll expose your cover-up from years ago." Linda stood, halting the meeting. "Everyone needs to read this," she said, her voice low but commanding. The board, from grizzled veterans to young executives, opened the email, and the room fell into a deathly silence. Nathan Brooks, at the table's end, began to sweat, his panicked glance darting to Rachel Kim, who gripped her pen until her knuckles whitened. Ethan Caldwell, the smug consultant, tried to stay composed, but his forced smile betrayed him. Linda called an emergency session, demanding Nathan, Rachel, and Ethan stay. She phoned Elena, voice urgent, "Elena, I need you to explain. Now." From the cafe, Elena refused to appear in person. "Everything you need is in the report, Linda. If I show up, Victor will have an excuse to attack me and my family." She paused, voice trembling. "You know how loyal I've been to Horizon. Trust me this time." Linda agreed but insisted Elena join via video call for a confrontation. Elena took a deep breath, knowing this was the defining moment. She opened her laptop, adjusted the webcam, and when her face appeared on the boardroom screen, the room hushed. Nathan whispered to Rachel, "She's got nothing," but his voice quavered. Linda presented Elena's report, each page a dagger into Nathan and Rachel's scheme. Spreadsheets exposed cash flows to Pacific Consulting, Nathan's cousin's shell company. Internal emails showed Rachel agreeing to cover it up for a promotion, and Ethan overseeing the erasure of Elena's digital footprints. But the knockout blow was Victor's recording, his cold voice threatening Elena and hinting at the old scandal. Nathan leapt up, shouting, "This is fabricated. Elena's out for revenge after her firing." But Linda raised a hand, silencing him. "We'll hear Ms. Martinez," she said, her eyes locked on the screen. Elena inhaled deeply, feeling the world's weight on her shoulders. She knew this moment wasn't just about exposing her enemies but confronting herself. "I'm not here for revenge," she began, voice steady but powerful. "I'm here for Horizon, for those who trusted me, and for my son." She recounted her 15-year journey, from late nights fixing financial glitches to saving the company from crises. Then, in a stunning move that left the room speechless, she revealed the 10-year-old scandal herself. "I covered up an embezzlement to save Horizon," she said, voice trembling but eyes resolute. "I was wrong, and I've lived with that regret. But today, I choose the truth, even if it destroys me. You, Nathan, Rachel, Victor, exploited my loyalty to profit. The question is, what will this board choose? Truth or lies?" The room erupted. One board member slammed the table. "She admits her guilt, why trust her?" But Linda raised a hand, eyes blazing. "Because she's the only one daring to tell the truth." She turned to Nathan. "What about you, Nathan? Anything to say?" Nathan stammered, blaming Rachel, who burst into tears, confessing, "I just followed Nathan and Victor's orders." Ethan, pale, mumbled, "I didn't know anything," but no one bought it. Suddenly, a board member got an urgent message. Victor Lang, sensing his plans collapse, was trying to join via video call to defend himself. Linda allowed the connection, and Victor's face appeared, eyes wild. He shouted, "Elena's a liar. She covered my scandal." But Elena cut in, voice sharp as a blade, "And you used that to blackmail me, Victor. I'm not afraid anymore. The truth will free me. What about you?" The board sat stunned by Elena's courage. An elderly member, Mr. Grayson, stood, clapping slowly. Others joined, the room filling with applause like waves crashing on shore. Nathan slumped in his chair, Rachel sobbed, and Ethan bowed his head. Linda looked at the screen, saying, "Elena, you've done what no one else dared. We'll launch a full investigation, and I promise justice will be served." Elena nodded, tears glistening but a faint smile forming. "Thank you," she said, then ended the call, leaving the boardroom in an emotional storm. In the cafe, Elena closed her laptop, leaning back, feeling like she'd run a marathon. She gazed at Seattle's waterfront, where ships glided silently, and whispered, "I did it, Diego." Her phone buzzed, a text from Diego, "Mom, I'm proud of you." Tears fell, but this time from joy. She knew the battle wasn't over, but she reclaimed her honor, not just for herself but for her son and the years she'd sacrificed. They thought I was prey, she murmured, her voice ringing like a victory anthem, but I hunted the whole pack. Diego's text, "Mom, I'm proud of you," still glowed on her phone screen, a beacon guiding her through the storm. But as Elena sipped the last of her coffee, a new feeling stirred, not triumph, but a question: what now? She'd defeated her enemies, but the path ahead was foggy, like the mist over Seattle's waterfront. Meanwhile, at Horizon, the gleaming headquarters felt like a ruined arena. Linda Huang, with her piercing gaze, led an urgent investigation. Independent financial experts and auditors were summoned, tearing through every transaction tied to Pacific Consulting. Within 48 hours, they confirmed the numbers: $4.8 million had been siphoned into secret accounts, mostly linked to Nathan Brooks' cousin, Clara. Nathan, once swaggering in expensive suits, now sat in an interrogation room, pale and confessing everything to lessen his sentence. He admitted Victor Lang had masterminded the scheme, exploiting Nathan's greed to exact revenge on Horizon. Rachel Kim, who'd dreamed of the CEO's chair, collapsed entirely. Fired on the spot and facing civil lawsuits, she left the building with hollow eyes, her fake smile gone. Ethan Caldwell, the arrogant consultant, had his contract terminated and his reputation ruined, his name a punchline in Seattle's financial circles. Victor Lang, the mastermind, became an international fugitive after fleeing toward Canada, but within a week, he was caught at the border, his wild eyes now filled with despair. The news spread like a tidal wave. Seattle business headlines blared: financial scandal at Horizon Enterprises, $4.8 million embezzled. No one named Elena publicly. She'd asked Linda to keep her anonymous to protect Diego, but within Horizon, whispers of the silent heroine began to circulate. Younger colleagues, who'd once avoided her gaze when she was fired, now murmured about her courage in break rooms. A new employee, Sophia, posted in an internal chat, "Someone saved our company. I want to meet them." Elena, reading the message through a former colleague, gave a faint smile. She didn't need fame, but the quiet recognition was a cool breeze, soothing her wounded heart. 3 days later, Linda called, her voice warm but firm. "Elena, the board wants to meet you. In person, not video." Elena hesitated, recalling the curious stares of colleagues when she'd left Horizon. But Diego's voice echoed, "Do what's right, Mom." She agreed, wearing a deep blue dress, the color of the sea, of resilience, and stepped into the headquarters for the first time since her firing. The security guard tipped his head, eyes respectful. "Welcome back, Ms. Martinez." In the boardroom, all 12 members stood as she entered, an unprecedented gesture. Linda, at the head of the table, said, "Elena, you saved Horizon. We owe you an apology and an opportunity." The board offered a new role, Director of Internal Audit, reporting directly to them, with authority to oversee the entire financial system. They promised to restore her salary and benefits, plus compensation for the injustice she'd endured. But Elena didn't rush to accept. She surveyed the room, remembering late nights fixing financial errors, Nathan's dismissals, and Diego's eyes when he said, "I'm proud of you." She slid a paper across the table, her voice calm but sharp. "These are my terms. Independent budget, full system access, and a whistleblower protection policy. Non-negotiable." Linda raised an eyebrow, but a smile broke through. "You're exactly who we need." The board approved instantly, and for the first time, Elena felt the respect she deserved. The decision to return wasn't easy. That evening, she sat on the couch with Diego, the soft yellow lamplight enveloping them. She told him everything, not just the fraud, but the scandal 10 years ago, when she'd hidden the truth to save Horizon. "I was wrong, Diego," she said, voice catching. "I was afraid you'd be disappointed." Diego took her hand, eyes shining. "Mom, I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be you, the one who fought for what's right." He hugged her, and in that moment, the weight of her past dissolved, like fog under sunlight. Elena chose to return to Horizon, not for money or fame, but to build a fairer system, where no one would be dismissed as she had been. A week later, Maria, her steadfast friend, emailed, "You did it, warrior. So proud." Attached was an article about the scandal, captioned, "An insider saved Horizon." Elena smiled, filing the email under memories. She also received job offers from 2 rival firms, with double the salary, but she declined. Horizon was her home, where she'd poured sweat and tears, and now she'd shape it her way. She started work, establishing new audit protocols, training Sophia and other young staff, instilling in them the belief that integrity always wins. As news of Victor's arrest spread, Horizon announced the recovery of $4.5 million from hidden accounts, enough to stabilize the company's finances. The board held a press conference, thanking an unnamed courageous individual, but Linda's glance at Elena in the boardroom said it all. Elena stood by the window, gazing at Seattle's waterfront, where ships drifted silently. She thought of her journey, from a fired single mom, terrified of Victor, to a woman standing tall, respected by colleagues. She touched the coffee mug Diego had given her, the words "best mom ever" glowing under the light. "I did it," she whispered, her voice rising like waves on the shore, "and I'll never let them steal my light again." Diego walked into her office, carrying a box of pastries from her favorite bakery. "Welcome back, Mom," he said, his smile radiant. Elena hugged him, feeling the warmth of family love, and knew this victory wasn't just justice, it was the bridge she'd rebuilt, stronger than ever. She looked to the horizon, where the sunset burned red, and smiled. They were wrong, she thought. I was never prey. I'm a fire they couldn't extinguish. 6 months after her triumph at Horizon Enterprises, Elena stood in her new corner office, Seattle's sunlight streaming through the glass, casting shimmering lines across her wooden desk. From here, she could see the waterfront, where ships glided slowly, a reminder of her own journey through the storm. No longer the fired single mom, Elena was now the director of internal audit, a respected leader who'd rebuilt a bridge of trust from the ashes of betrayal. Each day at Horizon testified to change. Elena established transparent audit processes, ensuring no employee would be dismissed as she once was. She mentored Sophia, a passionate young staffer who often stopped by with questions and admiring glances. "How do you stay so resilient, Ms. Elena?" Sophia asked once, clutching a steaming tea. Elena smiled, her gaze distant. "When you have something worth fighting for, you find the strength." She didn't share her story, but Sophia, like many colleagues, sensed the quiet fire within her. The finance department, once cold with averted eyes, now buzzed with respect. Younger staff dubbed her Horizon's Lighthouse, a nickname that made Elena chuckle but warmed her heart. Life outside the office bloomed too. Elena spent more time with Diego, now a junior in college, chasing his engineering dreams. They strolled Seattle's waterfront, laughing about the superhero movies Diego loved. "You're the real Iron Man, Mom," he teased, and Elena pinched his cheek, grateful he remained her light. Maria, her steadfast friend, became an indispensable companion. One evening, they sat on Elena's balcony, sipping wine, watching the city lights twinkle. "You did it, Elena," Maria said, raising her glass. "From ashes, you built a castle." Elena smiled but didn't reply. She didn't need a castle, just a home where she and Diego could laugh without fear. One afternoon, Elena opened LinkedIn, posting a rare message: "Don't be afraid to stand up, even if you stand alone. Truth is a flame, and it will guide you through the dark." The post went viral, shared thousands of times by strangers, office workers, single moms, thanking her for inspiring them. She read one comment: "Thank you for reminding me we're stronger than we think." Elena closed her eyes, feeling as if a sea breeze embraced her, soothing invisible scars. She stepped onto the balcony, watching the sunset paint the horizon red. A distant ship raised its sails, a symbol of her new journey. She thought of the dark days, when fear of Victor and her past weighed heavy, but now, she saw only light. "I rebuilt the bridge," she whispered, her voice rising like waves on the shore, "and it will never fall again." Diego appeared, hugging her from behind. "Mom, dinner?" "I'm craving pizza." Elena laughed, pulling him inside. In the warm lamplight, their laughter filled the apartment, a song of rebirth, of a woman who'd reclaimed herself and written her own legend. The story of Elena Martinez conveys the message that integrity and resilience can overcome injustice, even when standing alone. The key lesson is, don't fear facing the truth, even if it risks your reputation or past. Meticulousness, loyalty, and love for family are the flames that help you rebuild fallen bridges. In life, when underestimated or betrayed, use your strengths, knowledge, patience, and courage to fight for what's right. Like Elena, you can turn adversity into an opportunity for rebirth, stronger than ever. Trust that the truth will set you free, and every step forward is proof of your worth.